Hello and welcome to another P-Security channel video. Today you'll be watching the review of probably one of the most anticipated products of this year, Comodo Internet Security version 7. So this is the next major release from Comodo, and they've stuck to their guns. They're still doing the same basics with a lot of improvements. The major ones being the inclusion of a website blocking service and some performance improvements, and also they've included some kind of ad blocking by private dog, and it's just being distributed by them. So it's a definitely improved product. We have some modifications to the user interface, but nothing major. It's more or less the same user interface since version 6. So let's take a look and see how this version fares and how competitive it is and how it deals with malware. So the installer is about like 219 megabytes, which is a fair bit bigger than the previous version. So I'm a little bit disappointed that they couldn't make it a bit smaller, considering it has to do initial 164 megabyte update. So it's a bit of a surprise why it's so big. So we've got this basic user interface of like version 6 with this home screen modification. So the advanced view is still the same. You get your main components, antivirus update, auto sandbox, the hips, and the firewall. But you've got this Windows 8 friendly kind of view, so you can see your big buttons and all that. I have no problem with this user interface. It has a great amount of customizability, so it's meant to be liked by everyone, to be honest. There's no real problem over here. So we've got advanced tasks and all that stuff, so let me show you some of the new changes. Yeah, the other major change in this version is they've included a new behavioral monitoring module called Firewall. We'll get down to it. Let's just take a look. Antivirus scan settings, very similar, no changes here, but we'll get to the changes real fast. So by default, the HIPS module comes disabled, so that's the way we'll be running the test. But if you're like a regular user, I would probably change it. It's not real necessary, but I might change it. So I'll make another video about how to configure Comodo in the right way for the optimum level of protection. So that'll be a separate video. I will link it in the description box below once it's out, and also I guess I'll put the link on the screen. So now let's get down to some of the interesting parts. Here's the firewall. By default it's enabled, safe mode, as usual, nothing new. But we've got a new thing over here called website filtering. Let's just not be too optimistic about this, because I've tried this out and to be honest, at the moment it doesn't do much at all. It just let all the phishing websites and malware websites go through. So this is still developing. I mean, I wouldn't say it's like non-existent, but it's not really that good at the moment. But remember, this has just been introduced at this version, so we will be having improvements. So definitely in the future we will be looking at probably a good enough web filtering module by Comodo. So it's really good to see they're moving in this direction. Now I guess I missed out the Firewall. Yep. So Firewall right now comes disabled by default, but you can turn it on. And what this does is it enables the subsystem Firewall to dynamically analyze the behavior of running process. So it gives you more control on like legitimate applications, so you can see what they're doing, and you can undo in fact some of their actions, and you can reverse, as you can see. You can set it to quarantine and reverse a process if it does something like malicious, or you can just reverse the process. So it's a really neat tool. I haven't really analyzed it, and I won't be doing that in this video because by default it comes disabled. So I guess they're still working on it, and I will definitely try try this out on my host system and also on some other systems, and I'll see if this really comes into play. But for the moment we won't be using it because by default they like to turn it off. So we'll just leave the settings as they are. We won't be changing anything, and I will just make sure that this thing is up to date, as I always do. And once it's done, we will proceed with the test. Now, I heard a lot of complaints about the memory usage going up in version 6. I really don't know what that was about. I run version 6 on my own machine and it's light as hell. I mean, even a dinosaur age computer would have no problem. And the same thing is consistent with version 7. It only uses like 15 to 20 megs of RAM. I mean, it's ideal. What more can you ask for? So there are no problems in terms of performance from this product. It's really light and stable and no issues whatsoever. So I'll just start with the web prevention tests. We've got about 8 links which we'll try out, and we'll see how their different modules come to play. These are all zero-day malware, needless to say. So let's just get started. As you can see, no action by the web filtering. We'll just clean it ourselves, and you can see the malware has been quarantined. So we'll also be doing a signature test just to see how Comodo is doing in terms of signatures, because that used to be their major weakness when they were new in the industry. Get to see if they've overcome that. So okay, this is nice. Comodo Secure DNS. There you go. Website blocking in action. I'm not sure that's the firewall module though. It looks like the Secure DNS that was there since a long time. But anyway, let's hope we see something more. Okay, this one's again through the web blocking, but I'm quite sure, well, let's just see what Comodo does with it. And it's quarantined, so that's nice. So Comodo is a really good product, so I'll just be honest, I'm expecting it to block everything. If it doesn't, it'll be a surprise to me, considering the previous test results. Once again, it stops this file from executing the real-time protection. Just to be clear, I have no bias for Comodo. I don't work for Comodo or anything. They're just great and they make great products, and that's why I respect them. Nothing more. And the best thing about Comodo, I think, is that they don't really advertise their paid products as much as some other companies do, and they just happily give away free security and pretty much everything in that. Firewall, antivirus, zero-day defenses, complete suite for free. That's really nice. And who doesn't like free, to be honest? So another secure DNS detection. This one has a fairly low detection rate. Let's see if it's caught. Yeah, it is. It's quite good to see that secure DNS is working pretty well these days. So let's try the last link. Whoops. There you go. It executes. Okay, so this one's not blocked by the real-time protection, and I think it is. It had a detection ratio in VirusTotal of about 9. So let's try run this. I'm not sure if this malware, but we'll run it and find out towards the end of the video if it is. As you can see, the behavior blocker asks me whether I should run unlimited, block, or run isolated, and it clearly says this is default. So I'll just hit this one and let it run inside the sandbox. Let's see how Comodo deals with it and whether it has any effects on the system. Some programs just crash in the sandbox because they're not able to do their malicious operations. We might have a similar case here because I'm not seeing anything suspicious. Let's see if it's running on the sandbox. Okay, I think we can take a look over here. Yeah, here. Sorry. So there are no processes in the sandbox, which means the file just terminated. But anyway, I'll just to be sure, because I don't want to miss out on what might be a pretty good link. Try run it again. See what it does. Okay, so now it's running in the sandbox, and it's trying to run SVC host. So we'll just give this some time to run, and then I'll just reboot my system and we'll carry on with the test. Well, Malwarebytes didn't find anything, to be honest. It just found the .ink file, which is probably because of an invalid file association. Anyway, there's no real malware on the system. So, okay, we'll just remove this crap because we don't want it to appear in the results again. So, yeah, it basically confirms that the sandbox did its job and the malware was not allowed to create any kind of problem in the system. So yeah, in case some of you might be wondering why it did just count out the INK file, you can read more about the extension, just Google it up. Basically, you know, you get INK files when like you have a file association, then you remove one of the files, or you get this crap. So it's not really anything at all, to be honest. So I guess that completes the prevention test. So now I'll just grab my files, just turn off Comodo for a second. And I'll just grab my files and do a scan, and let's see how many it catches. So here we have 481 pieces of malware. Just do a right-click scan and see how many it catches. Now this is the region where most people complain about Comodo not having a good enough detection rate. Past results have shown that it's not really that great, but it's not bad either. So let's see how good a detection ratio it manages this time, because they've worked on their heuristics and lots of other things, so we may be seeing slightly better results, who knows. The scan speed, to be honest, has gone down a little bit. Even the removing speed has gone down, but they've tried to improve the removal process, so it may be because of that. Anyway, it's still fairly fast, so I'll be right back after removing all of this malware that it finds. Looks like Comodo has completed cleaning this folder, so let's see what's left over. These files were about just a day old, so let's see what we have left. We have around 85 items. Just scan it again just to be sure. Okay, so it looks like it's found some more. Let's just apply the actions. Let's clean once again. So now we have 76. Let's turn on the real-time protection. Okay, here we go. Let's just make sure there's nothing left now. So we'll just calculate once again what that comes down to. So that's about 84.19 or 84.2%. Once again, I'd say it's not that bad, but it's definitely not impressive. I've seen products get over 90s, and that's quite frequent these days, to be honest. Some products like MCSoft and F-Secure even managed 100% detection. So 84%, to be honest, isn't all that great. But anyway, now let's try run these files with the default settings. And let's see if it can protect us. That's what matters the most, right? Ultimately, that is the thing that is important, whether or not we are protected. So we'll try running these files. See what happens. For anyone who is like curious about where I get all these files from, mostly I get my samples from VirusSign, in other cases from some forums. If you're really into this thing, well, there are lots of sources, so I generally don't really mention it. And most of my links are from Malcode, CleanMX, and Malware Blacklist. Lots of people like to use Malware Domain List, but I've tried it and almost none of the links work. So as you can see, everything's going through the sandbox. So this is basically the test of Comodo's sandboxing abilities. So let's see if anything manages to do any damage from inside the sandbox. So far I'm not seeing any symptoms of the computer being infected. Just go on for as long as I can. I don't want to miss out anything. I want this to be a thorough test, because we already know that Comodo is good, right? So we want to put it to as much testing as possible to reveal any kind of weaknesses whatsoever. Just want to run as many as I can, because it missed a lot of files. Okay, that's enough. So let's just see what's running in the sandbox and what has terminated. Lots of things here, but only 4 of them are still running, so I'll give them enough time to do any kind of mischief that they want. And after that, as usual, I'll reboot the system. I'm not going to reset the sandbox. A lot of people have told me about it, and I do know that you can just clean the sandbox data, but that doesn't solve the problem, right? A user can obviously just clean everything, but what the program does, that's just important. And most regular users won't do this. And in case a legitimate file was sandboxed, this would just defeat the purpose of sandboxing. So, you know, I'll just do it the regular way in which most users would do. Like, nobody wants to just go over and hit this button every time, right? So the sandbox should prevent any damage. That's what I'm concerned about. So let's just see if that happens. So I'll just reboot the system and check if there are any malware infections. I just scanned the computer with Malwarebytes and Hetman Pro after letting it run for a while and running CCleaner, and they've both come up with a lot of malware. Malwarebytes has found like 3 Trojan fake AVs in downloads folder, and Hetman Pro has found a lot of executables in users folder. So it's important to note that none of this malware is actually running or executing or doing anything malicious. They're just files. And let's just go and check them out. I just opened my downloads folder, and as you can see, the sandbox has some leftover files, and let's just try running them once again. These are all hidden, by the way, so if you're a regular user you wouldn't even see these, but I'll just try run them and see if they can do any kind of damage. As you can see, they're isolated once again. And that's it, I guess. They're isolated, they cannot perform any malicious operations, and they just terminate. So that basically just shows you the power of Comodo Sandbox, even in partially limited, which is, very far from the best kind of security that they have. So even in the lightest version of the sandbox, the malware just fails. It's just like a wimpy kid. It just cries, and basically, it's almost like to say these files are in jail. So they really can't do any kind of damage to your system. So basically they're just like Comodo has tamed them. So that's really good to see. So just as usual, Comodo manages an excellent result. Once again, not because of signatures, but because of its zero-day components. So hats off to Comodo for making such a great sandbox. It really works well. I've tried this on production machines, and it's just fantastic. Doesn't interfere much if you set it up the right way, and it just does an excellent job. No complaints. I would like the detection rate to increase. That's one significant drawback, and the website blocking is still not that effective. But as you can see, the zero-day components, they're pretty much perfect. Just what you want to see in a sandbox or a behavior blocker. And as I said, this is without the hips, without the advanced security features. So it still does just so well. And as you can see, this computer is running just fine. I can just access the internet, nice and easy, no toolbars, no crap, in spite of having all these malware that were not in the signatures. My antivirus still protected me. So that's basically a really nice thing. You can just visit any website. There's no damage at all to the system. And that just tells you that Comodo did the job. So it doesn't matter how you do it. So the only significant drawback of this kind of zero-day blocking is that you still have all these files. So if you accidentally just turned off Comodo and tried to run them, you'd be screwed badly. But then again, you should never turn it off in the first place. But another drawback, basically the only drawback if you keep this turned on is the hard drive space that these things occupy, which is negligible. So it's not really a drawback anyway. So, it's once again great performance by Comodo. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. It was quite exciting for me as well to see how the sandbox works and all that. So I'll be making another video on how to configure Comodo. You can watch it by clicking the link in the description box. So thanks for all the support. Thanks for watching. Comment, rate, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next B Security channel video.